We often see the uniform, the badge, the flashing lights. But what we don't always see is the weight that comes with it. Behind every routine call, every siren in the night, is a person stepping willingly into chaos. Police officers don't just respond to emergencies, they walk straight into the unknown, day after day. It's not just about arrests or reports. It's the screams they can't forget, the split-second decisions that will haunt them for years. It's the child they tried to save but couldn't. The house they entered not knowing if they'd come back out. And when the world turns away, when others sleep or look the other way, officers are still out there, chasing down the worst parts of humanity, often with little thanks and even less rest. Yet, they keep going. And this tense clip is a perfect example of that. On the evening of November 3rd, 2022, officers from the Houston Police Department were on routine patrol. Although there's a kind of magic in drifting above the world in a hot air balloon. No engines, no rush, just silence, sky, and the slow rise of dawn over the earth below. On the morning of June 21st, 2025, that peace shattered over the canyons of Praia Grande. What began as a routine sightseeing flight, a quiet 45-minute tour above one of Brazil's most breathtaking landscapes, turned into something else entirely. A nightmare in the sky.
Jesus Christ.
Terror in the skies above Brazil Saturday as a hot air balloon carrying 21 people bursts into a fireball, crashing to the ground in a streak of smoke.
The balloon lifted off carrying 21 people, most of them tourists, all of them eager to experience the calm that comes with floating high above the cliffs. But just 2 minutes after takeoff, everything went wrong.
There has been a hot air balloon horror in Brazil. A hot air balloon, in fact, catches fire.
A fire, sudden and fast, erupted inside the basket. Within seconds, smoke filled the air, flames rose, and the calm of the morning was replaced by chaos. The pilot realized the danger immediately and began descending fast. But there was no time. The fire grew too quickly. Below them, the rocky terrain offered no safe landing. And at 100 meters above ground, survival meant making a choice no one should ever have to make.
Não, é uma pessoa, tô vendo aqui no som da câmera, gente, ele se jogou!
Jogou porque tá pegando fogo.
People began to jump. One after another, passengers leapt from the burning basket, hoping the ground might be kinder than the flames. Screams echoed across the valley as witnesses watched bodies fall through the smoke. Some landed hard with broken bones. Others didn't survive the impact. And inside the basket, still engulfed, others were trapped. 8 never made it out.
Tem mais um!
Meu Deus do céu! Jesus Cristo!
Some escaped with second-degree burns. Others were found in shock, their bodies bruised but alive. And also for those who witnessed it, for the families left behind, it was more than a tragedy. It was horror made real. The balloon, high in the air, smoking, the flames, the falls, images that are now burned into the memory of everyone who saw them. This wasn't a freak accident in a forgotten place. This was a commercial balloon flight operated by a licensed company on a busy weekend morning. 8 lives lost, 13 more forever changed, and a town left with scars no photograph could ever capture. But tragedy doesn't always come with fire or falling from the sky. Sometimes it comes in silence, underwater, hidden from view. Freediving is pure and elemental. Yet, alongside that wonder lies vulnerability. Without gear, without breath supply, every second underwater becomes a negotiation with nature. She descended into a submerged cage suspended beneath the surface. At first, everything looked straightforward. A clear dive, a moment of calm underwater. But then it happened. Past the confines of her goggles and slid into a gap in the cage structure. Unnoticed at first. But crew members and even fellow contestants, many without a plan, dived in after her. For what must have felt like an eternity underwater, she got to the surface, gasping, overwhelmed, but alive. She later shared her reflections on social media, explaining that she hadn't tied her hair because she found it freeing, but admitted she underestimated how dangerous it could be. She added that if anyone had warned her otherwise, she would have secured it differently. I hope this accident becomes an opportunity for reflection and water safety education. For all, she wrote. Human error turned into potential tragedy underwater. This incident stands as more than a reality TV scare. It's a visceral lesson. A reminder that even skilled people in controlled settings can find themselves in danger, with something as simple as loose hair becoming a lifeline or a trap. Freediving demands not just training, but preparation, awareness. Whether you're underwater for sport, challenge, or television, safety depends on details. And sometimes, the detail is as small as your hair. Some dangers pull you beneath the surface. Everything changed.
Mayday, 9815 Lima. I'm in trouble. I have no idea. Mayday, I'm going to crash. 9815 Lima, say altitude. I'm rolling. And then slowly back again. I'm level. I'm straight level. I don't know where I am. 9815 Lima. Remain VFR if you can. Remain straight and level. Squawk 7700 if you have a transponder. Get level now. 9815 Lima, do you have a transponder, sir? I do. 1200 right now.
And somehow, it worked. The spin was broken, and after what must have felt like a last moment of life, slowly, the aircraft stabilized. The plane descended smoothly. Wheels touched down on solid ground. And just like that, what could have ended in tragedy became a story of survival. For that pilot, it was a moment that would change everything. A reminder of just how fast control can vanish, and how crucial it is to stay calm when it does. Because up there, in the open sky, the line between life and loss can be as thin as the clouds. Some time. And just like a spinning aircraft needs calm voices on the ground, a hostage situation demands nerves of steel, split-second decisions, and a whole city holding its breath. That's exactly what happened next, right in the heart of Amsterdam. It began like any other afternoon in the heart of the city. The bustling Leidseplein was alive with movement, tourists taking photos, cyclists weaving through traffic, and commuters heading home as the golden hour began to settle across the city. Inside the sleek glass facade of the Apple Store, customers browsed new devices and employees chatted with familiar ease. But by 5:30 p.m. on February 22, 2022, that ordinary scene collapsed into something nightmarish. A man, 32-year-old from Amsterdam, later identified as having a criminal record and a history of psychological issues, walked into the store wearing camouflage gear, armed with a handgun and an automatic rifle. He fired several shots into the air, sending people running for cover. He was carrying explosives, or at least claimed to. Within moments, he had taken a man hostage, an innocent British national, and announced his demand, 200 million euros in cryptocurrency, or he'd detonate a bomb and kill the hostage. Police quickly surrounded the building, cordoning off the square. Helicopters hovered above. Snipers took position on rooftops. Hundreds of officers from Special Forces units, negotiators, and tactical teams were deployed. A city center known for its freedom and flow was now frozen, tense and silent.
Winkel van Apple. In de ramen zitten 4 kogelgaten. Die zijn er gekomen toen de verdachte vanuit de winkel naar buiten schoot. Het begon gisteravond allemaal rond 5:30 op het Leidseplein. Een man van 27 ging naar binnen bij de Apple Store. Hij had wapens bij zich en schoot daarmee, maar hij raakte niemand. Er waren op dat moment veel mensen aan het winkelen.
Veel bezoekers van de winkel en de omliggende winkels konden direct het pand verlaten.
But that man wasn't the only one held hostage. Deeper inside the store, the atmosphere was suffocating. Some people had managed to hide, tucked into storage rooms, behind counters, or in darkened hallways. They silenced their phones, held their breath, and prayed they wouldn't be found. Every second felt stretched. Every muffled footstep outside their hiding places sounded like it might be the last. For the hostage being held at gunpoint in front of the window, time moved differently. With a weapon pressed to his body and the glass between him and the outside world, he became the focal point of an unfolding national crisis.
Een gijzeling wordt dat genoemd. Maar er waren nog meer mensen in de winkel die niet weg konden.
4 personen die zich in de winkel bevonden, hebben zich schuilgehouden gedurende de hele gijzeling in een kast op de begane grond.
His life hung in the balance, not only at the whim of an armed man unraveling under pressure, but also tied to a digital sum too large and abstract to grasp. Negotiations stretched on for hours. The gunman made erratic demands, live-streamed parts of the standoff, and insisted his cryptocurrency ransom be transferred immediately. He reportedly said he'd blow himself up along with everyone else if the police intervened. As darkness fell, the square remained locked in tension, the air electric with fear and the unknown. Then finally, after 5 hours, a moment of opportunity emerged. The hostage, whether through bravery or instinct, suddenly broke into a sprint, bolting out of the store in full view of the police.
Oh my fucking God.
The gunman, surprised, gave chase. But the second he crossed the threshold into the open air, officers reacted with precision. An undercover police vehicle rammed into him at high speed, knocking him to the ground. A tactical unit swarmed in instantly, dragging the hostage to safety.
Yeah. Yeah, they hit it. I got it. Really hard.
The suspect lay on the ground, motionless, and later died of his injuries after he was taken to the hospital. The ordeal was over. No bystanders were harmed. All those who had been trapped, terrified, and frozen in fear for hours were freed. But the trauma lingered. For the hostage who stood inches from death. For the employees who had texted loved ones goodbye. For the city, which had watched in real time as a digital age ransom and a very real human life collided in a glass-walled store on one of Amsterdam's most public squares. In the aftermath, police would reveal that the gunman had premeditated the attack. His phone contained chilling evidence, plans, photos, messages. But what remains most haunting about that day isn't the demand for millions in cryptocurrency. It's the quiet terror of those held inside. People who went out shopping that afternoon and ended up praying they'd live to see the evening. And for them, no amount of ransom could ever measure what was truly at stake. We often think of danger as something visible, something we can point to, avoid, escape. But sometimes it's silent. It builds slowly, wave by wave, or walks through the door without warning. In Amsterdam, it came wrapped in fear and gunfire. But far from city streets, on the endless stretch of ocean, it took a different form: wind, water, and isolation. The ocean has always been a place of wonder, but it's also a place of power. Out beyond the safety of shorelines and breakwaters lies a different world, one ruled by wind, water, and time. There are no straight roads out here, no warning signs, just endless motion and the unshakable truth that the sea plays by its own rules. For centuries, sailors have looked to the ocean with both admiration and fear. It offers freedom like nowhere else. Vast horizons, the rhythm of the waves, and the silence of isolation. But that freedom comes with a cost. Because when the weather turns, the sea doesn't care who you are, how far you've come, or how experienced you might be. It doesn't negotiate.
Holy shit.
That's God.
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of scared then.
Most modern ships are built to withstand that reality. Giant freighters, commercial tankers, military vessels, they're constructed with steel hulls and reinforced decks, engineered to power through storms that would tear smaller boats apart. But when you're in a 28-foot sailboat, alone, hundreds of kilometers offshore, the equation changes. There's no backup, no harbor to run to, and no one coming to help if things go wrong. That's the reality faced by a solo sailor in November of 2017. Somewhere between New Caledonia and the Australian coast, he found himself in the middle of a violent offshore storm. He had been sailing Fathom, his Vancouver 28, as part of a solo circumnavigation around the world. By then, he had already seen his share of rough seas, but nothing quite like this.
Shit.
For 3 days, the storm battered the boat. Winds howled. Waves broke with force. The deck stayed soaked and the cabin never stopped shuddering. He was managing it all, barely, using every ounce of skill and instinct he had built over the course of his journey. Luckily, after those 3 days, the wind softened and the waves grew less aggressive. For the first time since the storm began, the chaos gave way to something more manageable. It wasn't calm, but it was enough. Enough to get Fathom moving again. Enough to steer back toward land with some degree of control. But the timing was critical. Had he tried to close in on the coast earlier, the outcome could have been disastrous. The shallow waters off Australia's edge, combined with the sheer force of the South Australian current, can turn heavy seas into towering, breaking walls of water. In conditions like that, there's no room for error. Another solo sailor, caught in the same weather system, needed to be rescued after attempting landfall too early. It's the kind of detail that sticks with you. Proof that sometimes the most important decision is not when to push forward, but when to wait. Now that was all for today, folks. If you enjoyed these horrifying clips, click to see more on the video on screen.